Are you appointed by God? If the answer is no, I'm not appointed by God, then thank you very much. I don't want to hear about it, because you don't have the right to talk in the name of God.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Where is God Today? You're watching the Mahdi Has Appeared TV. There are 2 phone numbers on your screen right now. Feel free to give us a call if you have anything to say. I'd like to welcome my very, very good brother, Waqar. Thank you for joining me today, bro.
It's a pleasure, my brother. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, bro. And I love speaking to you, man.
It's always an honor. It's a pleasure.
God bless you, my bro.
God bless you too.
Okay, so we're going back to the subject that we left off on Thursday. Yeah. So that's literally 2-3 days ago. And we were talking about, we reached the point where Abba Sadiq, from him his peace, spoke about why he was sent. The subject of our episode and last few episodes is from the playlist that you see on screen right now, which is the School of Divine Mysteries, available on the Mahdi Has Appeared YouTube channel. And the episode in question is the Mahdi exposes the dark Islamic history. Feel free to watch the episode yourself and please join us in discussing it. So we left off, as I said, with the Mahdi, from him his peace, explaining, or Abu Sadiq, from him his peace, explaining why Imam al-Mahdi, Imam Mohammed ibn Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, had sent him. And that is to make known to all the Muslims around the world in English that this history happened the way he's describing it.
Yeah.
And it's, as we said, probably one of the toughest things any human being will ever have to do.
I mean, to actually explain to people that the last 1400 years, what they thought was the truth, what they thought they followed was the right path, was actually they went the opposite direction.
Yeah, and to face such a sort of
imagine someone believing in something passionately all their lives.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't we do that one time?
Exactly, bro. That's what I mean.
Then after praying for 50-60 years, fasting, believing in God and His Prophet, doing good, doing charity, and then you find out actually you weren't even upon the real religion.
That's the worst part.
And God is having mercy upon you only because actually, even though you were on the wrong path, you were sincere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they actually are very sincere.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very passionate about the Prophet, and peace be upon him and his family. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, unfortunately, the truth's always shocking and bitter.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Bro.
This book is exactly what it is. It lays bare the truth. I mean, it's not sugarcoating anything, because sometimes you have to tell people the truth in a very direct way without sugarcoating it.
Of course, bro.
For people to get shocked and, I mean...
Take it or leave it, basically.
Yeah, take it or leave it.
Yeah. That's the thing. I've been encouraging you all to pick up this book and get your hands on it. It's available for free online. Let's bring up the QR code if it's available. This book is available in multiple languages, free of charge. It is a digital copy, so feel free to download it. Perfect. And there's a QR code there, there's a website there, whatever's easiest for you, just do it. Read it. I mean, you're not going to lose anything. And in fact, you've got everything to gain. So, yeah, give it a go. And, yeah, like, speak to us about it. Like, we're very happy to help you understand. We're very happy to clarify anything. We're very happy to even discuss matters that you don't agree with or do agree with. Feel free. Like, it's, like, there's no judgment here. There's no, like, you know, you won't feel, like, we won't make you feel guilty or anything like that. You know, it's, like, there's no compulsion in religion, you know, and this is literally the attitude we have, you know, like, we won't force anything on anyone.
I mean, we want people to actually make a decision
themselves,
themselves based upon the truth.
For sure.
And this book lays the truth quite bare. It's in simple language.
Very simple,
for any layman to understand.
Yeah.
And please download it. It's very important. I know people look at it and it's a big book. But if there's any time investing into something in your life, this book is worth it.
Yeah,
I assure you, it's worth it.
Yeah, like, and that's an understatement. It really is. Like, it's so deep. It's so deep. It covers so many topics that nobody talks about in the same manner, in the same, like you said, simple to understand terms, and like in a very clear way.
Even if they open just the content and just go through the content and the chapters and the names, I think they will be quite fascinated for what,
at least intrigued.
Yeah, it's intriguing.
You know what I mean? Anyway, right. So let's get back to our the topic we've been covering from the episode we mentioned, and I think, like I said, we'd left off where Abu Sadiq, from him his peace, said that he has this mission to the Muslims. So, without further ado, let's go to our next clip in the line of clips that we've shown so far.
Then the great tragedy took place, and that was that after the Muslims experienced the horrible years that followed the death of the Prophet Muhammad, they became disillusioned. After having horrible years, a horrible couple of years underneath Abu Bakr, even more horrible years underneath Umar ibn al-Khattab, after now the Umar and Abu Bakr and Uthman had spread Islam through the sword, conquering and killing people all over Northern Africa and in Asia, and trying to build an empire in the name of Islam in a very ugly way. After companions had arrested companions and banished and exiled other companions that sought to speak up and tell the truth, like Abu Dharr, who was banished to the wilderness and left to die like an animal in the desert, even though he was one of the greatest companions, of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After they had distorted the Quran, after many years of deceit and filth and injustice that occurred underneath Uthman ibn Affan, right? And Uthman basically placing into power all of his in-laws and the Bani Umayyah that would jump, basically the family, right, of the Abu Sufyan and these guys that were the enemies of Islam, actually, and that were fighting the Prophet Muhammad. And we spoke about that on this channel in an episode in response to the scholars of the end times, right? This Sheikh Asrar Sunni guy. The Muslims became disillusioned. And actually, some of them rose up and they end up murdering Uthman because of their anger of the state of affairs. And the people literally, they repented and they ran and they grabbed Ali ibn Abi Talib, and they brought him forward and they forced pledge allegiance to him. They brought him out of his home and said, please save us. This is horrible what's taking place. We made a big mistake. that we betrayed you. You know, you were the one whom the Prophet wanted, you know, to be in power. We remember that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if we would have followed you, that we would be eating from above us and below us and from every direction. You're the one whom the Prophet chose to marry his only daughter. The lineage of our Prophet only continues through you. You are the most knowledgeable of us. Abu Bakr, even when he got the Pledge of Allegiance, he stood in front of everybody and he said, you know, I'm not the best of you, right? But what can I do? And so he admitted that he was not the best. But the Prophet said that you were the best of all creation. He said that you were the very self of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said that you and him were created from the same light. What was wrong with us? How could we have gone so astray?
Subhanallah, man. Like, that's quite the admission of regret and, like, obviously remorse over the actions that had gone previously. Well, under Abu Bakr, and then the acceptance of Umar, and then Uthman. The fact that they murdered Uthman for his nepotism.
Yeah.
That says a lot, doesn't it?
I mean, it's weird how the Muslims, after seeing the reign of the first three caliphs, of course they were going to get disillusioned because they'd seen the reign of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and this was completely opposite.
Yeah, in contrast, contradictory.
Completely in contrast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It didn't even make sense.
Yeah,
and it's weird that how they've realized at that time, their mistake.
Yeah.
Now all they have to do now, is realize the same thing. All they have to do is, look, the Muslims had to reflect on the caliphates of three caliphs before they woke up, that there was something wrong.
Right.
You know, I mean, something wasn't right. It wasn't like this under the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, the Muslims have been in a sorry state. Yeah, forgive me for saying this, but it's true. It's a sorry state. I mean, and it's been like over 1,000 years now.
Today's world, the Muslims are like, they literally are viewed as, like, when you speak to people who have a semi-interest in general in religion, they view the Muslims as like really sort of backward and
completely backward.
You know what I mean? Like very sort of ignorant.
I mean, even the Muslims that have emigrated to the West, I mean, had an education in the West, they looking back and all they can see is that their nations are literally compared to the West are in the Stone Age.
Yeah. Well, another fact, what's the word? Atheism is rapidly
on the
expanding and rising amongst the Muslims.
Yeah, this is the disillusionment. People are saying, oh my God, if our state is like this, or
where is God?
Where is God? You know what I mean? This is the question of this program. Where is God?
Today, exactly.
Today, yes.
Yeah.
And the only place you're going to find God today, is where God's representative is today.
Yeah, the Imam of the time.
God's representative today is here. He's the head of this dawah.
For sure. So, it's quite a twist, quite a turn when they've experienced the rulership of the three first Khulafa ar-Rashideen, right? Yeah. That they turned against that and they decided to force the Pledge of Allegiance on Imam Ali alayhi salam when it was supposed to go to him right at the start. In fact, it went to him at Ghadir Khum before the Prophet passed away, peace be upon him. So
this also shows that the people that forced the Pledge of Allegiance on him and were in that state knew that Imam Ali al-Islam was the true successor after Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, and this is the thing. They regretted,
they realized their mistake.
They had become forced on.
Yeah, that's why they came and they goes, please save us now.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened. They wanted him to, like, the fact that they mentioned that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said that if we'd followed you, we'd be eating from under our feet, from above our heads, and from all sides.
Yeah. And they saw this was not happening.
Like, they'd seen suffering.
Yeah.
they'd seen like the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being spread by the sword, like as in forced on people.
Yeah.
Like in the same manner that we saw the Roman Catholic religion spread later, right? So it's clearly a deviance. It's clearly like a sort of like the wrong leadership, the wrong, like the non-divine leadership that, you know, manifested in that form, right?
I mean, it's simple. Your prophet, peace be upon him, appoints a successor in front of this many people.
Yeah.
And after his death, I mean, you go back on your words. So what do you expect
to happen
to you in your state?
What can you say?
Yeah.
So let's see where we went after this. So the Imam Ali alayhi salam got the people to, he didn't get them, but the people forced their pledge of allegiance onto him. Let's see what happened next.
They pledged allegiance to him, and immediately after they did so, and Ali ibn Abi Talib managed to rise to power, the forces of darkness and the forces of the enemies of Islam rose against him, and they basically began to fight him, starting with the Battle of the Camel and going onwards into endless battles against basically the Khawarij, those people that, you know, popped out of nowhere saying, like, we don't accept basically any representative to rule over us. We only want God to rule over us, and we have the Quran, and that's enough. And these other weird groups, and then basically the forces of the family of Abu Sufyan, the enemy of Islam, which was now headed by Muawiyah, who had appointed himself, as a ruler of the Muslims, and was hell-bent on fighting Ali ibn Abi Talib for power over the Muslim nation.
We see that same ugly thing rearing its head again, and that is the self-appointment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the ego forcing an appointment upon the people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And in this case, it was Muawiyah, the son of Sufyan, Abu Sufyan.
I mean, you can see two things happening here. You can see the evil lineage of Abu Sufyan, raising its head and slowly showing its face. And the other thing is that you realize how far away the Muslims actually went, so far away from the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that they were literally lost in the wilderness.
Yeah, the fact
that they created themselves, really.
Yeah, the fact that they had sort of gone to war with Imam Ali alayhi salam, saying that the Quran is enough.
Yeah.
These are the words of Umar ibn Khattab, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that the fact that they there were so many wars that were waged against Imam Ali alayhi salam, right, and his rule, that's like further evidence of treachery and betrayal and like self-service and, you know, this like refusal to accept the authority of God.
I mean, if they knew that if they let Imam Ali al-Islam rule, the way he was meant to rule from God, then they would have realized that the people would have realized that what they had done initially, was a great corruption.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they would have realized that. I mean, it was these people that did this, and they deprived us of this, and they literally just misled us. But the thing is, people have to take responsibility as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just blame the enemy.
For sure.
Something is, you all had an individual duty, to actually accept and support, the Imam of the time. Yeah. And the people didn't, and they suffered the consequences.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, this is what happens when you don't listen to the appointed leader in your time. That's
the appointee of God, right? Yeah. So another point was obviously there's a driving factor, a driving force that brings the people to this kind of point where they confront the appointee from God, right? And it's always this self-service, this self-elevation, this self kind of like greed and like the want for more. I should be higher than the rest of the people. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's that which is an underlying kind of like, this is why I said it's that ugly thing rearing its head in Muawiyah. Yeah. Self-appointment and like, you know, I'm the, you know, the appointee.
It shows them that the whole of the Banu Umayyah were hypocrites.
Exactly.
They were never, they never believed in Islam.
Yeah.
They never believed in the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him and his family. They didn't believe any of it. Yeah. But what they loved about it was the power that they could hold over the people.
The lust for it, right?
That was all it was. It was the lust for it.
Let's go to our next clip.
The Caliphate of Imam Ali alayhi salam lasts 4 years. The 4 years is filled with Muslims just attempting to kill him and destroy him and his family. Eventually they succeed in outlaw by the name of Abdurrahman ibn Muljam, Lanatullah alayh, a filthy creature, whom upon him is the curse of God and his messenger, manages to come in, walk in on Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib while he's in a state of prostration, and he strikes him very hard with full power with his sword on top of the head of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, cracking his skull open and causing him basically to die shortly afterwards.
Man, that's honestly one of the most annoying, like depressing kind of fates, you know, for someone of the stature of Imam Ali alayhi salam to have, like, I've never, like, see finding that out for the first time, you're just like so bitter inside, you're so like furious.
I mean, as a true Muslim, of course. This is a successor of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. There is no difference in the killing of Imam Ali al-Islam and the killing of Muhammad.
Yeah, but it's the method.
The method is...
The method, bro. He's like in prostration.
Yeah.
In a mosque.
Yeah.
And the guy like splits his head open, man.
Yeah.
What? Like,
because,
I mean,
look, they knew...
How cowardly is that?
They had to be cowards, my brother. But the thing is, they knew the valor and the bravery of Imam Ali.
Of course.
They knew they could never face him and do this. So they found a time when they thought he was at his most vulnerable, and that was in the state of prostration.
Literally.
You understand? When it's just him and his Lord. So they found that opportunity and they used it. It was ugly. It's terrible.
Bro,
it just shows how in the early days of Islam, how this evil was spreading its tentacles.
Barbaric evil, bro.
All the way around the religion, changing and manipulating things. I mean, just for its own agenda.
Like, would you, like, basically, right, if you had, like, somebody today, right, like, okay, so we hear stories all the time in the press and so on about like mosques being attacked and like, you know, like either like a bomb being detonated or whatever, like some kind of thing happening when there's people in there. Yeah. And we see the outrage that comes from that, right? We
see the outrage.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, Imam Ali alayhi salam, who is the father of the grandchildren of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family,
and the
husband of the daughter, who is the most beloved creature on earth to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
No doubt.
Right? And the Imam Ali alayhi salam, who was actually raised by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam for a significant chunk of his life, right? Like, we're talking the majority of his life, he was under the influence of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For somebody to brutally murder him in that manner, like, if you were there at that time and you'd heard, would you not just, like, you'd literally just pick something up and go, right, I'm going to find the people, I'm going to attack, I'm going to go fight for his, you know, for his legacy.
But do you know what the thing is? You know what the most disgusting thing is? What was Imam Ali al-Islam's crime? What had he done to these people?
Crime? On what level has he ever committed a crime?
Absolutely none.
Do you know what I mean?
But you know what the enmity is? What it was that
it's what he stood for.
Because they never actually accepted the religion of Prophet
That's what
Muhammad.
I mean. It's what he stood for.
They never accepted it.
Yeah.
In their heart, they still had the revenge for their relatives in Badr, and in Uhud, and in all the. And the thing is, who was the person that mainly subdued the enemy? Yeah, and was the sword of God, Imam Ali.
Right.
So they didn't Yazid say in Syria when they brought in front of him the prisoners from the family of Imam Hussein al-Islam, the women and the children, didn't he say, today, you know what I mean, my ancestors of Badr will be proud of me.
Yeah.
I have taken revenge today. You see,
that says everything.
This tells you the whole motive.
Literally,
it is nothing to do with any Islamic
God
jihad
or anything. Yeah,
it's literally cold-blooded murder.
I've got something to point out, by the way, right?
Please.
About Imam Ali alayhi salam, right? So when he stepped forward, right, at one, I can't remember which battle. It might have been, is it Badr? He was really young. And
when he was really young was the Battle of Badr.
Right. I think basically it might have been this point when basically the angel Gabriel calls out to Muhammad, and only Muhammad can hear him, of course, right? And he said, there's no youth apart from Imam Ali, and there's no sword apart from Dhul Fiqar.
Yeah, that was the battle after, I think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Uhud?
Uhud.
Bro, that statement, it's there in the narrations, right? Now, as a character, right? As a human being, as a character, bro, that's like all you need to know.
Yeah.
Because that's the archangel of God who carries the revelation to the prophets, right?
Yeah.
Saying this to the final sort of, at the time, covenant bearer, right?
Yeah.
Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he's telling him, so this essentially is a revelation, right?
It is. It was a revelation.
You get the point?
Yeah, it's a revelation.
So, the like their attitude and behavior and so on towards him, right? Obviously in his adulthood, that speaks volumes about who their allegiance truly was with, right? Yeah. They're definitely like on the side of Satan. Yeah. They're not on the side of God.
Meaning they harbored this anger, this malice, this revenge in their hearts.
Yeah,
and they stayed in that hypocritical state all those years.
Exactly.
And it was building up and
until the opportunity came.
Until the opportunity came.
La'natullah. Let's go to our next clip, as depressing as this is.
The successor who was appointed by Imam Ali in front of the entire nation was Imam al-Hassan. And Imam al-Hassan's name was also mentioned in the will of the Prophet Muhammad. And Imam al-Hassan was the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, his first grandson. Can you imagine that? His grandson that the Prophet used to kiss and love, and who he said was one of the masters of all of the youth of paradise. Nobody gets into paradise except that Imam al-Hassan is his master. And yet this descendant of Abu Sufyan, the enemy of Islam, the descendant of Hind, the liver eater who was eating the organs of the family of the Prophet, the organs of Hamza in the middle of the battlefield like an animal, he says, no, I don't accept. I'm the real ruler. All right. And he basically orders the assassination of Imam al-Hassan in such a filthy way. He basically manages to use one of the wives of Imam al-Hassan as an agent against him, and he pays her to poison Imam al-Hassan, and he gives her promises that if you kill your husband, I will marry you to my son Yazid, Lanatullah rahmatullah alayhi, and that's exactly what takes place. She accepts the offer. She betrays Imam al-Hassan, just like the Quran says that many of the prophets and the messengers, they had wives that were traitors. And from those wives that were traitors are, the wife of Noah and the wife of Lot. And also Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he also had wives that were traitors. Okay, namely, two of them that are mentioned in the hadiths, very much so, and those are Hafsa and Aisha. They betrayed the Prophet Muhammad, and that's a whole nother story that we can go into. And that's why in the Quran, basically, God condemns them. And brings down these verses that speak about how their likeness is the likeness of the wife of Noah and the wife of Lot, who were told to enter into hellfire, and that God is going to replace them with better wives for the Prophet Muhammad, like the ones that are the likes of Asya, the wife of Pharaoh, who was a believer, and also Mary, the daughter of Imran. Right, the mother of Jesus Christ.
Subhanallah, bro. Like Imam al-Hassan, right, is betrayed by his wife.
Yeah.
In the same way that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is betrayed by his wife.
His wives. Two wives.
Yeah, and it's this clear, like what we've just been told, right, about the opponents to the family of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that there is, and it's a confirmation of what's in this book, that there is two lines essentially on earth.
Yeah.
The line of Satan through his son Cain, which that bloodline goes all the way down in all of the cultures, all of the societies, all of history. And then there's the line of Adam, which goes through all the prophets and all the messengers who basically stood for the idea of monotheism, and that God established the rulership. God establishes the rulership through that key indicator, the will. The will being the man appointed by God, pointing to the next man, pointing to the next man, pointing to the next man. And it's always that same conflict. The sons of Cain refusing that authority over them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It constantly repeats.
You can see how the hatred carries on.
Right.
It carries on from Imam Ali al-Islam to his son Imam Hassan.
Yeah.
But do you know the interesting thing is, can you see how the archetypes mentioned in the Quran, namely the wives of Noah al-Islam and Lot al-Islam, how they were, how they dealt with their husbands, how they were disobedient, would share information that was not meant to be shared with their relatives. And you see the same characters repeating the same thing in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with his wives Aisha and Hafsa. And then you see the same thing happening to another successor of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, namely his grandson, Imam Hassan al-Islam, who is also the master, one of the masters of the youth of paradise. It's not a small thing. It's not even a small statement.
Yeah, and like this is the thing. He literally just said it. Abu Sadiq, from him his peace, just confirmed it. You cannot enter into paradise without him.
No, you can't.
As your master.
No, you can't. So what are they thinking? Have they found another paradise that they were going to enter? Which paradise did Abu Sufyan or Muawiyah or Abu Bakr or Umar or Uthman, which paradise did they promise them? Because it wasn't the way to get into Muhammad's paradise.
No doubt. And there's literally no connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Absolutely none. And it's right that you can see there's no connection. It's two opposite ways. That's why the people had to force pledge allegiance to Imam Ali. Because they knew that they had literally gone upon a path to destruction.
Right.
What the Prophet, Muhammad, peace be upon him, had warned them about, they actually realized that they actually went down that wrong road that they shouldn't have done.
For sure. Bro, it gets sadder and sadder, by the way. It gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Let's bring up our next clip. Let's see where we go.
Muslims are very sensitive about that, and they consider that Aisha and Hafsa are extremely holy and more holy for the Muslims than even Fatima Zahra and the grandchildren of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even though nobody today prefers their wife over their grandkids. Nobody prefers their wife over their own children. This just doesn't happen, but I guess it's supposed to happen with the Prophet Muhammad. There's always these different standards that they like to apply when it fits their own agenda, you know? And it's just weird because these two people, Aisha and Hafsa, just so happen to be the daughters of Abu Bakr and Umar. Can you believe that?
Why is it different with the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
I mean, I think Abul Sadiq, from him his peace, explains in this clip it all absolutely perfectly. I mean, if you compare the stories of the past prophets and the similarities with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it doesn't make sense. I mean, for example, whatever he leaves behind, for his relatives, actually becomes charity. Even though we know that Solomon inherited his kingdom from David. So prophets and their offspring do inherit.
Yeah.
But in this case, we have someone that's not even appointed by God, who called himself the companion of Rasulullah. But he's saying that, what the Prophet leaves is for charity. Yeah. When Lady Fatima Talzara, peace be upon her, went to ask and claim her inheritance.
What I don't get about Abu Bakr and Aisha, right, is that they claim that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam willed, like as in, like designated like the Caliphate to him, the Khilafah to Abu Bakr, right? They say that it was willed to him, right? And they deny the fact that it was willed to Imam Ali alayhi salam. Yet, like you said, right, he hypocritically and contradicting himself denies that, the prophets do have an inheritance, as in he denied the inheritance of the daughter of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's a glaring kind of
let's look at this in another way.
Right?
For example, if they loved their Prophet, they really loved their Prophet how he was meant to be loved, and they had this respect, naturally what is connected to your Prophet you would love just as much.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Okay, even if for example, it's not this, but even if he left it to charity, for example, and his beloved daughter did go, and for some reason, circumstances, did claim it, why couldn't he just say, take it?
Well, for example, the thing, isn't it? It's just hatred, isn't it?
She's the daughter of the beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
It has to be born of envy and jealousy.
He could have said, he could have said, take it. It's yours.
This is the point. Yeah. He's got the leadership at this point. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
But the thing is, it doesn't make sense. We mentioned it before. It doesn't make sense. If everything of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family goes to charity, then why didn't the homes or the houses of the wives of the Prophet also go into charity?
I don't know. But the big point for me at the beginning of this clip is how the Muslims today revere Aisha, especially obviously the Sunnah, right? There's this conflict within Islam between the Sunnis and the Shia about Aisha. Yeah. Aisha is seen as this angel, sent by God, whose words are like the words of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yeah. Bro, she is a vindictive, jealous, and self-driven individual, right? She's very bitter. Yeah. She hated Imam Ali alayhi salam.
Yeah, she had envy for Lady Fatima, peace be upon her.
Big time envy.
She hated Imam Ali alayhi salam. I mean, what Father is trying to tell us is that
we need to wake up.
We need to wake up. What are you actually
Supporting.
following and what are you actually supporting?
Yeah. I want us to play our final clip for today. Let's do that. Let's bring our next clip up.
So let's move back to the main story. They poison Imam al-Hassan. They get rid of him. He dies. He passes away. And Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is now left. Imam al-Hussein ends up getting all of these letters, these pledges of allegiance to him, informing him that he needs to rise against this Yazid, all right, and this Bani Umayyah empire that is being built. And the Muslims say, if you just rise, we will form an army behind you and we will stand by your side. And this is where the great tragedy of Karbala begins. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam receives these pledges of allegiance. There's so many that they fill an entire room this size, right? Just stacked up scrolls and pieces of paper, you know, one on top of the other. There's so many of them from hundreds of thousands of Muslims across the empire, and especially in Iraq. And they call him and they say, come out. And basically, Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, now it's obligatory upon him to respond. He has more than 40 supporters. He needs to go forward and respond to this call. And he takes his family members and he takes his companions and they go out towards the land of Karbala, which is in modern day Iraq.
Bro, this is the thing, right? With the men from God, there's always a consistency. Right? Imam Ali alayhi salam was told, do not rise unless you have 40 men to support you.
Yeah.
Right? Al-Hussein alayhi salam only rose because he had more than 40 people pledging their support for him. Yeah. In writing.
In writing.
Right? Yeah. So...
I mean, Father al-Islam mentions that there was a room full of pledges.
Exactly. Scrolls, like, full of them. Right? Like, as in, these are people saying, like, just come and we'll support you, right? Because Al-Hassan has just been poisoned by his betraying wife, who then married Yazid.
No, he never let her marry. Muawiyah never let her marry.
So it was a deception again.
No, because Muawiyah was a very cunning person.
Very, bro.
He was very
His
cunning.
dad was cunning, wasn't he?
And he said to her, he goes, listen, how can I let you marry my son when you
are a betraying type?
You betrayed the son of Rasulullah, your own husband. What about tomorrow? What about if you betrayed my son for someone else? You understand? Right. That's the thing. She never got anything, straight to hell.
Well, yeah, this is the point. Like, she got what she deserved karmically, right? But the fact is, right, that the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Al-Hassan, was poisoned and killed. And this is after Imam Ali alayhi salam had been killed in a mosque, right? And then we've got Al-Hussein now being like sort of supported to face these guys off, right?
Have you noticed the same thing what happened in the time of Imam Ali al-Islam? When they realized they were upon the falsehood and they forced pledge allegiance. Well, the Kufans realized that under Muawiyah and under Yazid what was going to happen to him.
For sure.
That's why in desperation they wrote those letters.
Yeah. Like it was a call for him to come and take his place.
But the problem with the supporters of the Shia of each Imam in each time has always been their biggest problem, has been the fear of the tyrant. And in that sense, they would always abandon the successor. Yeah. And they abandoned Hussein in Karbala just for this reason, because of fear.
We're coming to that, and we will continue this story in our next episode. But I think we've left you at a very sort of crucial point in the history of the Muslims and their betrayal of Allah.
It's the darkest chapter in Islamic history.
Yeah, bro.
The Karbala thing.
Bro, Karbala is known. There's poems about it. There's all sorts of rhetoric and like publications
Muslims
about
and
Karbala.
non-Muslims have wrote about Karbala.
Yeah. Gandhi said, I learned from the suffering of Al-Hussein to be victorious in my suffering, right? Against the British.
I mean, how to use non-violence to achieve victory.
Exactly. Subhanallah. This is the point. So, yeah, all of you out there, like, again, Abu Sadiq from his peace doesn't speak apart from truth. No. So anything he said, please go and research it. Please. And what we're commenting on is truth. Yeah. And we want you to know this truth because this is his message of the truth. You know, the truth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. God, the supreme, almighty, one God. So please take the time, investigate what we've been talking about, investigate, you know, this book, The Goal of the Wise. And do check out his channel. The Mahdi has appeared on YouTube, and check out or search for WIGT ? For our previous episodes. Thank you for joining me, brother.
Thank you so much for having me, my brother.
God bless you. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay tuned for more, and have a good night.
Are you appointed by God? If the answer is no, I'm not appointed by God, then thank you very much. I don't want to hear about it because you don't have the right to talk in the name of God.